The sky was still gray when Angela Brown stepped out of her small clapboard house on the edge of town. Her right hand was wrapped in an old bandage, stiff with ointment, but she held her dinner uniform in the other. It wasn't much, just a faded blue dress with an apron that had seen better days. She smoothed it down, took a deep breath, and whispered, "Lord, give me strength today." Her son Marcus, 15 years old, poked his head out of the doorway. His hair was cut short, his backpack hanging off one shoulder. He looked at his mom with worry that no teenager should carry. "Mom, you sure you should be working with that hand?" Angela forced a smile. "Baby, bills don't pay themselves. You focus on school, all right? You just keep dreaming bigger than this town." Marcus nodded, though his eyes lingered on the bandage. He wanted to help, but what could a high school kid do in a world that already had him judged before he even opened his mouth? Angela walked down the dirt road to catch the bus that took her to Main Street. Every step was heavy, but she carried herself with quiet dignity. Benny's diner looked like something out of a postcard. Neon lights glowing red and blue, checkerboard tiles polished to a shine, and the smell of bacon and biscuits thick in the air. To strangers, it looked friendly. To Angela, it was survival. She tied on her apron, ignoring the throb in her hand. The other waitresses, young white girls with painted nails and easy laughs, gathered in a corner, giggling as they scrolled through their phones. When Angela approached, they hushed, their smiles fading into smirks. "Careful with that tray," one of them muttered just loud enough for her to hear. "Wouldn't want the crippled hand to slow us all down." They snickered, not caring if she heard. Angela swallowed the sting. She'd learned long ago that fighting back only brought more trouble. Instead, she tightened her apron and headed to her tables. The breakfast crowd filled the booths. Farmers with sunburnt faces, mechanics in dusty overalls, and women gossiping over sweet tea. When the white waitresses came around, they were greeted with warm smiles, laughter, even flirtation. But when Angela approached, the tone shifted. A man in a cap looked at her bandaged hand and scoffed. "Don't drop my eggs now. Last thing I need is some mess from you." Another customer tapped his glass impatiently, though it wasn't empty. "About time. You think we got all day? Service sure ain't what it used to be." Angela apologized softly, pouring coffee with her good hand, balancing trays with her injured one. She moved as gracefully as she could, but the ache in her palm was sharp, and every careless word from the customers cut even deeper. Tips were tossed at her like scraps. A few coins here, a crumpled dollar there. Nothing close to what the white waitresses pulled in with half the effort. That same morning, a stranger walked in. Tall, sandy-haired, dressed in plain jeans and a button-up shirt. He carried himself with calm confidence, but nothing flashy. He slid into a booth in the corner, where the shadows were thickest, and ordered nothing but a black coffee. This was Richard Hale. To the town, he was just another traveler. But in reality, he was a billionaire, the owner of the very diner Angela worked in. He had come undercover to see how things truly ran. From his booth, Richard watched, and what he saw troubled him deeply. He noticed how Angela's smile never faltered, even when a man muttered a racist slur under his breath. He saw how she rushed to refill cups with her bandaged hand, while her younger co-workers lounged around, laughing. He saw how customers tipped her barely anything, yet handed $20 bills to the white waitresses. Richard leaned back in his booth, jaw tight. He had built his empire from nothing. He knew what it was to struggle, but he had never lived the double weight Angela carried: poverty and the color of her skin. Later in the shift, Angela slipped into the back room, thinking no one was watching. She peeled off the bandage, revealing her swollen, bruised hand. She winced, flexing her fingers, whispering a prayer for strength. Her thoughts wandered to Marcus, tuition fees, school supplies, the dream he had of going to college in another state, away from this town that saw him as less. She worked every extra shift she could, not for herself, but for him. But she also thought about the whispers. Teachers who looked at Marcus suspiciously, store clerks who followed him down aisles, the way people's smiles dimmed when they realized he was her son. Angela blinked back tears, quickly rewrapping her hand before heading back to the floor. Unbeknownst to her, Richard had followed. He stood near the doorway, hidden, watching her pain. His heart tightened. This wasn't laziness. This wasn't incompetence. This was sacrifice. By noon, the diner was buzzing. Orders flew fast. Tempers ran short. Angela carried a tray stacked with plates, her arm trembling under the weight. As she placed a dish in front of a customer, a snide voice cut through the air. "'Bout time," the man sneered. "Guess you folks just ain't built for speed." The table erupted in laughter. Angela's face flushed, but she said nothing. She placed the last plate, nodded politely, and walked away. Richard's coffee sat untouched in his booth. His fists were clenched under the table. Each insult, each unfair glance, was carving deeper into his chest. He had seen bad management before, but this was poison. That night, Richard sat in his car, in the diner's lot. Rain pattered against the windshield, but his mind was louder. He would not stay silent. This wasn't just about a diner. This was about humanity, about justice, and about Angela, the woman holding up a broken world with one injured hand and a heart full of strength. For the first time in years, the billionaire wasn't thinking about profits. He was thinking about purpose. The next morning, Angela woke before dawn. Her hand throbbed worse than ever, the swelling now creeping up her wrist. She thought about calling in sick, but quickly dismissed it. Miss a shift? That meant missing rent. That meant Marcus skipping meals. That meant bills piling higher, so she dragged herself to the diner. By the time she got there, the place was already packed with farmers and truckers. The smell of grease and coffee hit her as she tied on her apron. One of the younger waitresses, Tiffany, smirked as Angela walked past. "Careful, Granny," she whispered to another girl. "Wouldn't want her to drop the pancakes again." Old hands ain't good for much. The two of them giggled, their laughter echoing in Angela's ears. She bit her lip and pressed forward, tray in hand. By mid-shift, the pressure was too much. She stumbled, nearly dropping a tray of drinks. The glasses clattered, Coke splashing onto the floor. Customers groaned. "Lord, she can't do nothing right," one man scoffed. "Should have stayed home where she belongs." Another muttered under his breath. "Always the same with her kind." Angela froze. Shame burned her cheeks. She wanted to disappear. But in the corner booth, Richard watched it all. His chest burned with anger. Richard wasn't just observing anymore. He decided to test them. That evening, after the rush died down, he quietly slipped the manager Mr. Doyle a few extra bills and asked him to assign Angela the hardest shift the next day. "Let's see how your staff handles pressure," Richard said calmly. hiding his true motive. The manager shrugged. Fine. But don't expect much. She's slow as molasses. The next day, Angela was stuck covering nearly the entire floor alone. Tiffany and the other girls leaned against the counter, filing their nails and scrolling their phones, pretending not to see the chaos. Customers barked orders. Plates piled up. Coffee cups went empty. Angela rushed table to table, her injured hand trembling so hard she could barely balance the trays. But she pushed through. Every insult, every glare, she carried it like a weight on her back. From his booth, Richard studied the staff closely. Who would step up? Who would mock? Who would stay silent? The results were damning. Tiffany laughed behind Angela's back. Doyle berated her in front of customers. Not one co-worker offered to help. Only Angela kept moving, whispering small prayers under her breath. As the shift wore on, a small moment cracked the bitterness. An older black woman named Miss Hattie, a regular at the diner, waved Angela over. She smiled warmly, pressing a folded $5 bill into her hand. "You're stronger than you think, baby," she whispered. "Don't let them break you." Angela blinked back tears, nodding silently. That little bill wasn't much, but it felt like a lifeline. Richard caught the moment. His heart clenched. He'd seen cruelty, but now he saw resilience. Angela wasn't just surviving. She was fighting with quiet dignity. Later that night, when the shift finally ended, Angela sat at the counter with her swollen hand resting on ice. Doyle stormed past, tossing the day's tips into a jar. "Short again," he muttered. "We'd make more if some folks pulled their weight." His eyes flicked at Angela before he left. Richard walked up to the counter, laying a crisp $100 bill down for his coffee. Angela's eyes widened. "Sir, that's too much." Richard gave a small smile. "No such thing as too much when someone's worked this hard." His voice softened. "Buy your boy something good with it." Angela's heart skipped. She hadn't told him about Marcus. She hadn't told anyone. She froze, wondering who this stranger really was. Richard caught himself. His disguise had slipped. He cleared his throat and walked away, leaving Angela in stunned silence. Meanwhile, Marcus faced his own battles. At school, he walked down the halls with his books pressed to his chest, ignoring the whispers. His mama's that waitress with the bum hand. Bet he ends up just like her. Some boys shoved him near the lockers, mocking his clothes, sneering at his skin. Marcus clenched his fists, but kept walking. His mom had always told him, "Don't let hate write your story." That afternoon, when he got home, he found the $100 bill on the counter. Angela told him a kind man left it for her. Marcus frowned, suspicious. "Don't trust people who act too nice, Mom. They always want something." Angela smiled sadly. "Sometimes, baby, kindness is real. And when it shows up, we hold on to it." That night, Richard sat in his hotel room, staring out the window at the quiet Mississippi town. He thought about Angela's hand, her resilience, the venom from her co-workers, and the pain in Marcus's eyes. He had come undercover to inspect his diner. But now it was more than business. It was about justice. He picked up his phone, dialing his lawyer. "It's time," Richard said. "Draw up the papers." "I'm putting the diner in new hands." The lawyer hesitated. "Sir, that's a multi-million-dollar asset." Richard cut him off. "I don't care. Money's replaceable. Integrity ain't. And I know exactly who deserves it." His voice was steady. His decision was final. Angela Brown had no idea her life was about to change forever. 2 weeks later, the diner buzzed with rumors. The quiet stranger who had been eating there every morning was back, but this time he wasn't alone. He walked in wearing a tailored suit, flanked by 2 men in business attire. Doyle rushed to greet him, plastering on a fake smile. "Welcome, gentlemen. Can I help you?" Richard's voice was calm, but it carried weight. "Yes, you can gather your staff. We'll be having a meeting. Right here." Right now, confusion rippled through the diner. Waitresses froze mid-step. Customers set down their forks. Angela's stomach twisted. Something was about to happen. Once the staff gathered, Richard stood at the center of the diner. He took off his glasses, his gaze sharp and direct. "My name is Richard Callahan. I'm the owner of this diner, and of every branch in this state." The room fell silent. Tiffany's jaw dropped. Doyle's face went pale. Whispers spread like wildfire. Angela's breath caught in her chest. The kind man who'd left her that $100 bill was the billionaire himself. Richard's tone hardened. "I came here undercover to see how this place was run. And what I saw," he glanced at Tiffany, Doyle, and the other waitresses, "was shameful." He recounted everything. The way Tiffany mocked Angela's age and hand. The way Doyle docked her tips and berated her in public. The racial slurs muttered under customers' breath met with silence instead of defense. The utter lack of teamwork when Angela was forced to cover an entire floor by herself. The staff squirmed. Tiffany stammered. Doyle tried to interject, but Richard silenced them with one raised hand. No excuses, racism, cruelty, exploitation. "That's what I saw here." Angela sat frozen, tears welling in her eyes. For the first time in years, someone had spoken the truth out loud. Richard turned to Doyle first. "You've stolen from your employees, mistreated customers, and allowed a culture of hate to fester here. Effective immediately, your fired gasps filled the diner." Doyle sputtered. "You can't—" "Oh, I can," Richard interrupted coldly. "And I just did." Then his eyes flicked to Tiffany. "And as for you, you will never work in any diner I own again. Pack your things." Tiffany's face flushed red. She stormed out, muttering under her breath. One by one, Richard dismissed others who had played a role in the abuse. The weight of his authority left no room for argument. Finally, Richard turned toward Angela. His voice softened. "And now, to the woman who carried this diner on her back while being mocked, ignored, and disrespected." Angela's heart pounded. She shook her head slowly, whispering, "Please, sir, don't fire me. I need this job." Richard's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Fire you? Mrs. Brown, I should be thanking you. You showed me what resilience, dignity, and strength look like. You kept serving with grace when no one stood beside you. You reminded me what this business should stand for." He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a thick envelope. "This diner is yours now. Deed, license, everything effective immediately." The diner erupted in shocked murmurs. Angela's knees buckled. I don't understand." Richard stepped closer, his voice steady. "You've been feeding people with love when the world gave you nothing back. From this day forward, you're not just a waitress, you're the owner." Angela covered her mouth with trembling hands as tears streamed down her face. That evening, when Angela came home, Marcus was at the table doing his homework. She placed the envelope in front of him, her eyes still red from crying. "Baby, we don't just have hope anymore. We have a future." Marcus opened the deed, his jaw dropping. His eyes lit up. shining with pride. For the first time in years, he saw his mom not just as a survivor, but as a victor. "Mom, you did it. You showed them all." Angela pulled him into her arms. They both wept, not from pain this time, from joy. Word spread quickly. The waitress, with the broken hand, was now the owner of the diner. Customers returned, but the culture was different. Respectful, warm. Angela hired staff who valued kindness over cruelty. Miss Hattie became a hostess. Even Marcus started helping after school, serving coffee with a grin. And every morning, Richard still stopped by for his cup of coffee, not as her boss, but as her friend. In time, Angela's diner became more than a place to eat. It became a safe haven, a place where dignity was served alongside the biscuits and gravy. And every time Angela looked at the deed framed on her wall, she whispered a quiet prayer of thanks. Because in a world full of cruelty and hate, one act of undercover kindness had rewritten her story. And the lesson was clear. Hate tries to break people, but dignity and justice can rebuild them stronger than